Hey, it's Katrina with An Addict Speaks. How's everybody doing today? I know they're calling for some snow, and I'm hoping it stays down south towards Richmond because I hate snow. And I know that might sound like I'm no fun, but I don't care. I was born in California. I like palm trees, so. I know I said I would talk about the Escort event, and I will, but I wanted to segue with one quick little thing real quick. I love when people in recovery or someone who comes through anything shares their story. And as I'm recording these videos, when someone will ask, well, who do they think they are? Who do they think they are that they can change anything or share anything or whatever? I love things like that because that's when I answer with, well, I'm Katrina King. Who are you? You know, there's no one that's better than anyone else. And I have always believed, even since I was a kid, that if there's something I wanted to do, there was nothing that I wasn't able to do. Probably some of it comes from the fact that my sisters and I were orphaned, and then I went on to live in foster care, group homes, etc., even a crack house at one point. And then I came through it all and was able to be the mother that I was to my kids and have a successful career. So the fact that I couldn't beat addiction was probably the hardest thing I'll ever have to accept, and I live with a lot of regret that I can't even begin to describe. And it was a horrible detox. I did it in the jail, and blood pressure dropped horribly, and I am surprised that I lived through it. But all of that said, as I was in jail, when we talk about stigma, one of the things that is troubling to me, my daughter had started dancing in a gentleman's club while I was in jail. And I don't talk about it. I didn't talk about it in the film, and I don't talk about it in general. And one of the reasons I do not is because to me, it just continues to feed into the whole idea of stigma, okay, as it pertains to what we expect of addicts and what happens, and it's, all that. And my daughter, I needed her to be remembered for the person that she was. She was a loving, sweet, naive soul, beautiful soul, okay, who got wrapped up in something. She didn't end up working there long. She was very uncomfortable with the notion of it, and I was proud of that fact, but of course it still made me, it was painful for me as a mother, as it would be for any mother, any normal mom. And so it kind of leads up to my incident. So because of stigma like that, after I had been laid off from my job and lost my home, I had money from severance and from, as I said, I wrote prescriptions, etc. So I moved me and my son and I, into an extended living hotel in the area. And by that time, my daughter was, out of the home. And I had been living there a while, but I, could afford to. I had the money to. And I guess they had questions about how, I don't know. But one day the door knocked, the police, wanted to come in. I let them in because I had nothing to hide. They had already arrested me a couple times for the prescription fraud stuff, but I felt fairly confident at that point because I hadn't done anything new, like in the last whatever, that it wasn't for me. So they wanted to look around, and it all started to come out as they're asking the questions. And what it was the hotel staff, they said that the hotel staff had found remnants of the ingredients that you would use to make crystal meth. I have a deviated septum from a broken nose, so I would use decongestants. Plus I was snorting pills, so that made things complicated. And that they had seen young men, coming in and out of the room at all hours of the night. Now, that wasn't true, and I was horrified. And as I tried to defend myself, I felt the most shame I've ever felt in my life, honestly, and I could say that honestly. My son stood there, he happened to be there, and his heart, he just defended me passionately. And as I'm standing there knowing, I can't even begin to describe how I felt. Even though I knew I was innocent, I now understand that I was carrying shame from when I was a young girl and the things that I had done, and I was continuing to see myself as that person, and I thought everyone else did too. And it turns out maybe they did, or I don't know. But they even brought in Child Protective Services, and they interviewed my son. Come to find out, the young men they had seen coming in and out were friends of my son's, who I considered sons of my own. So you can imagine the heartbreak. To this day, it stings. For a long time, I was very angry. I wanted to get back. I was would have sued, you know, just because of the way it was all done, and especially in front of my son. But I had to let it go, and I let it go because I realized that after our case and many other cases that there was a lot of changes, and some of the people in our case ended up, you know, doing really good things for and changing their perception as well. So I got through that, but it brings me to a place, you know, of thinking why do we tell these stories? This is why. I am an intelligent, and there's many more of us out there, intelligent person who went on to be a professional. There is no reason in the world, you know, and for the rest of my life, whether it's my own whatever or someone else, I was a salesperson too, so I'm always feeling like, God, you know, no one believes anything I say. Maybe it's I got a guilty face. And I realized that came from a foster father who would say those things to me. Oh, well, you look like this. You don't need to be with boys your age, blah, blah, blah. And that stuff that nags at your head, and it stays with you. And I'm like, no, I am not a, you know, manipulative whatever. I'm not. God gives us all talents and skills, and how we choose to use those, it's entirely up to us, okay? And at this point, me communicating my story, our story, I hate saying that, but our whatever, okay, is to help others say, hey, you know what, I feel like that woman feels, and I'm carrying this around, and I'm addicted, and I don't want anybody to know because I'm afraid they're going to take my kids, or, you know, this is what's going on with my child. Whatever it is, forget about it. No one's opinion matters, because half the time they get it wrong anyway. Go get help. Go get help. That's all that matters. How God sees you is what matters. So when you ask me who do I think I am, I'm Katrina King. I have nothing to be afraid of anymore, nothing to be ashamed of anymore. But I do live with regret, and I live with pain. When people ask me, how do I do it? How do you think I do it? I mean, I can't think about my daughter for more than a couple of seconds without being overwhelmed, and that's an understatement. It's awful. It's horrible pain. It's like a nightmare times 10, you know. There's nothing I can do about it. So I only stay there for a few seconds and I move on, and I do what I can. Some of that is by giving back and giving her a voice. She had some friends that were angry, you know, that she's not here anymore. Perhaps even angry at me, and I found that ironic because I was angry at them because I felt like they used her to make themselves feel good about themselves, because Kirsten did a good job of that. But I had to let it all go, because if we all pointed blame, we could be doing that all day. And it is what it is. You got to do with what you got now, and that's what I do. So every voice counts, everyone counts, and if I could do it, you can do it. So I want everybody to have a good night. Thank you so much for listening, and for letting me share with you. And I know the sounds are bad. I'm going to try to edit this time so I can get those truck noises out of here. And I had to hold this up because, unfortunately, I had to move to another room because it's just so bad out in front. So, all right, everybody have a good night. Thanks again. Take care.